Hello again, Tone Deaf Monkey. Moondrop CHU2, as I like to recall him, the CHU2. I got in the Moondrop CHU a while ago. Nice fancy packaging. Had a quick listen, compared them to the original CHU. And I thought they sounded very similar. So, and again, my daughter stole those ones as well. So she has the original CHUs and the CHUs as well. And then along came the CHU2. Nice, smaller packaging. I actually appreciate that. Kind of what I've been saying for a while is cut down all the bling, and I don't need it. I don't, and upon first listen, I will tell you that these CHUs are not the original CHUs. They don't sound anything like those at all. Where I thought the original ones were a bit bright, and I put a filter on the nozzle to tame them up a bit before my daughter stole them. And I liked them that way. I just was wishing for some more bass. And so obviously Moondrop has listened and did two things. So one, removable detachable cable, cut down packaging, and make it more minimalistic. In order to do that, I think they also took away the spring tips, which came in the other ones, and you just get some basic silicone ones, which I'll never use because, again, small, medium, large, that don't quite fit me. So I just wish they, cut it down even more. I'm never going to use this. I'm not going to use those tips, and I'm not going to use this detachable cable. So to me, it's all fluff. I understand why you would do it, obviously, so you can use them out of the box. That totally makes sense. But I don't mind if they just put an option out there to just be IAMs only. That would be fabulous. I'd love to see that. And I'd love to see more manufacturers doing that. Okay, let's talk about the CHU2. I got them on this Pen-on space cable. I liked it because of the fact it was modular and it's a little bit stiffer. And so smaller IMs like this, I like the fact that it gives me the stiffness to hold them in place because they're quite, light. Actually, they're not that light. They're actually made out of metal, and they have a great weight to them. But that paired really well. It's an SPC cable, which is funny because on the original I would have said copper only just to cut down some of that brightness. And even then I used final E-tips. So this is a whole new ball game. The nozzles themselves, oh man. Trying to take this, I have a Dunu SNS stage and sound tip on it. Pretty fabulous pairing. The little nozzle here can just unscrew. My fat sausage fingers don't do it well. You can see the driver inside, pretty funky. And then there's the, oh my God, the filter on the actual nozzle itself. Like in that part of the nozzle, which is kind of cool, instead of being over top. So you can change those out as well. You can put a tuning foam in there to kind of change it as well if you wish. I'm leaving it perfectly stock because I like the sound and what they did. All right, let me shove this tip back in here again. And this is left side. Let me show you what this thing looks like in my ear, to give you a good idea. It's a horrible, horrible demonstration, Monk. Really is. Okay, that bad boy's in. And they go especially with these Dunu SNS tips, they go deep in there, which helps with stage as well. So pretty nice. The isolation is pretty insane as well. I can't hear a darn thing with those tips and these things deep into my ear. You know, I'll say that again. Tips make such a difference when it comes to sound impressions. Sometimes I read other people's comments and I know right off the bat that they didn't spend any time or they used the stock tips. I get that all the time. How come you don't use the stock tips in the cable? Well, give me a cable that's actually nice and balanced the way I use it, and give me some ear tips that will work for my ears on this IM. And if you honestly don't spend the time to get proper fitment and listen to ear tips, different ear tips to get the sound that you want, you're not going to get the best out of the IM. And that's on you to do that. So my impressions are from me spending the time to do that. Same as sources. I mean, not that I'm typically using my Hibby R2 Pro 2 most of the time, just because I like the way it sounds and it doesn't offend me in any way. I'm not finding that I need a warmer source or this, and I like the portability. So that's what I'm finding I'm using most of the time. And so let's talk about the CHU2. So I did a shootout just recently with the CCA Duo, and I put up a graph, and I'll share that graph on here too. And one thing that people pointed out with my spider graph is like, well, the CHU2 seemed to do really well. And it's like, yeah, without bashing the CCA Duo, it was kind of a shot of, you know, how well these did compared to everything else. Like, it was pretty favorable. I preferred the bass over everything else, and it went around that. So I'll post the spider graph in this review as well as part of that comparison, but it pretty favorable. So let's talk about the bottom end. The bottom end is really nice. Where I thought the original CHUs were pretty light, I think they did a pretty fabulous job here. And it's more of a V-shaped sound signature, which, you know, it sounds good. I mean, I prefer IEMs that are more exciting to me than the flat neutral. That's my preference. And same as I find dynamics, better dynamics when an IM has more of the extremities on both ends, more highs, more bass. It can, you know, in the quiet passages, it could plug along nicely, but and then when it hits the dynamics and the transition to a busier track, it just adds the excitement into that track, and that excitement translates to enjoyment. And for me, that's important as well. So what I liked about the CHU2, I liked its size, I liked its shape, I liked the fact that it has a detachable cable now. I like the fact that it has a filter that can be replaced easily with the twist off of the end of the nozzle. I like the fact that you can probably tune it if you wish with some tuning foams or different filters. I like the bass. Probably the standout feature now. I like the mids. They were smooth. They were detailed. Male vocals were great. Female vocals were good. Where I thought the CHU2 could have had some improvements was actually now, weirdly enough, on the other end of this scale, where before I thought the original ones were too bright. I think these ones could have went the other way. And probably the reason why you don't hear as much high end is because there's more bass, right? So you're perceiving less highs. So I might still play around with the tuning filter on these to get it more to my preference, but if I pull up a curve and you can see that, it actually hits pretty close to my target curve. So that's pretty interesting as well. And it all has to do with perception as well. I mean, it also depends on what I've been listening to prior to this and after this, right? So that kind of also reflects in my listening impressions. That's really overall, and the stage. I think again, because if there was more high frequencies in the upper end for me, and it's funny because we all hear things differently. I had heard another comment or saw another comment that said it was harsh and sibilant, and I was like, I don't hear that. So again, maybe tips play a big part of that as well, for sure. But I like the way it sounded with the Dunu SNS stage and sound tips. So, but that would be my only wish if I wish I had some more air and separation on the top end. And yeah, but for overall sound, I'm not complaining. Not for $20. Not at all. I'm going to make this one really short. Honestly, highly recommended. Not going to offend everybody. It's a pretty good all rounder. It's a phenomenal price. There's no of the negatives anymore. It's not the detachable cable is there, so it's not attached to anything. There's really nothing to complain about. The tuning is safe, and it's a good sounding IM. Like whatever driver they're using, again, it's a decent sounding quality driver. Zero complaints. My honest opinion of the CHU2 is highly recommended. Kind of a no-brainer, blind buy. I can't see anybody being disappointed with these. And at the price point, $20. So for Canadian Canuck bucks, I pay like $25. And, you know, I got to say one thing about Moondrop shipping. So I've ordered, half a dozen IMs, and it used to take months for them to get stuff out. I got this in 10 days from China to Canada. So whatever they're doing on that end, they're also listening to that criticism as well. So Moondrop, thank you. I know it's only $20 of my money, but I appreciate it not having to wait 2 months to get it. And I appreciate what you did to the tuning and that you're listening to people. So thank you for that. That's the end of Monk's CHU2 review.